And we're back. On Wednesday, March 14th, New America Media, with support from the Gates Foundation, assembled local ethnic media for the release of a new multilingual poll. The release was part of the agenda of a roundtable discussion on education reform, including what worries people most. One of the main points of this meeting was that the FCAT testing is hurting our students. The roundtable discussion took place at the Miami-Dade College Wolfson campus.
On Wednesday, March 14th, on the downtown campus of the Miami-Dade College, an ethnic media roundtable on education reform was held. This event was co-hosted by New America Media and Miami-Dade College. They sought to give more voice to the South Florida educators.
What keeps me up at night, the increased poverty in the state, especially among kids attending public schools.
I'm with Lucy Tondreau from the Haitian American Grassroots Coalition. Now, for the Haitian community, what do you think was the benefit of this event?
Bon, je pense que c'était surtout mettre sous table la réalité qui est dans la communauté haïtienne là, savoir, yo pas capable de prendre tout le temps pour mettre nous en bas haïtien, African American, parce que haïtien pas africain américain. Background différent, culture différent, langage différent. Donc il n'est pas juste pour un petit monde haïtien pour upgrader un petit monde qui depuis toute ville la parler anglais et il n'est pas juste pour un petit monde africain américain pour apprendre haïtien qui a un problème de langage, de quoi pour apprendre pourcentage parler, de quoi pour être capable de dire que c'est africain américain. Parce que dans ce sens ça, il y a une différence qui peut faire entre africain américain avec haïtien américain quand il s'agit pour être capable de financer l'école, pour être capable de mettre à disposition nous différents aspects qui gagnent dans les affaires scolaires là.
The biggest problem in the state of Florida is not the lack of funding, but the misallocation of funding. The state of Florida is run by a system that focuses on the business of education. What that business is, now it's charter schools, now it's virtual schools, now it's tutoring that is completely unregulated, homeschooling, which is completely unregulated. Just so that you get an idea, the state of Florida is one of the few states that there had to be a constitutional amendment to add education as a priority to our constitution.
There were a lot of people here, and there was a lot of views expressed. How did that impact you?
Well, non sens c'est bon parce que nous faisons des échanges pour nous connaître respectivement ce qui est le plus gros problème. Par exemple, un problème qui était parlé, c'était la question F4 là, et puis on a parlé de Dream Act 2. Il y a un paquet de petits gens qui ont l'école ici, une fois qu'ils ont fini high school, le fait qu'ils n'ont pas de papier immigration, ils n'ont pas qu'à continuer à l'école, ils n'ont pas qu'à aller dans le collège. Et puis, School Board là, a fait un pile politique sur question pour être capable de vraiment commencer à faire travail pour pousser pour faire Dream Act là, pour les gens qui n'ont pas de papier immigration, ça pas de résidence, de quoi pour capable continuer à aller dans le collège. F4 là, c'est l'autre problème encore, parce que F4 là, sont business liés, parce que F4 n'est pas capable de montrer petit moins s'il smart ou bien s'il imbécile, à partir de on teste tout simplement. Donc, nous pensons que grand pile bagaille, grand pile échange qui fait dans ce sens-là, côté différents points de vue, sur Dream Act, sur F4, bagaille ça a été important pour nous mettre sous table de journée, je veux dire.
One of my disappointments, I would say, is when I listened to Sister Lucy here, and I heard the conversation from the Haitian community, there was no banter from anyone of color, my color. I got to get to my color because that's who I write for and that's who I report about.
And with the senior editor of the Miami Times, Kevin McNair, now during this conference you were talking about how you came from a different part of the United States. You came from the Chicago Northeast area, and you noticed that education for black people is different than in South Florida. What did you mean by that?
What I really meant by that was here we have so many different cultures.
Right.
It's not a black-white issue here. As a matter of fact, based on what the State of Black America Report 2012 just says, and I think some of it is accurate, blacks are at the bottom of the rung. Now when you come to a state like Florida, where we are competing for dollars in education,
right,
with
and
Haitians,
Florida is very far behind,
and very much with the whole Hispanic community, who has the biggest voice and the greatest amount of power.
Right.
Blacks are even further below. And so what happens is when there's a battle for educational dollars, resources, it tends to be a fight between blacks and Haitians, fighting for a very small piece of a pie.
Right.
And my concern, or my question is, why do they not come together and find some commonality and say, look, we have some issues that are not always the same. Because unfortunately, when they say black here, they mean all of us.
After an hour of discussion, the Ethnic Media Roundtable centered on a few main points, one being that the FCAT and over-testing is hurting our students. And the other point is something that the Haitian news can address, and that is education stories need to be more fully covered in the press. I'm Nick Lawrence with the Haitian News.
Last week, President Obama's re-election campaign released a film portraying the president's first term in office